There we go. All right, everybody. Hi and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. This session is hosted by Anew Advisors, and we proudly specialize in financial guidance for first responders and association. Today's topic is Social Security and windfall elimination, what it is, what's changed, and what it means for you moving forward. Just a quick note, this webinar is being recorded for anyone who may want to revisit the information or share it with others. Just make sure. Just a few disclosures before we dive in. This webinar is intended for general information purposes. We are not providing individual investment advice here. However, if you would like to connect with us after today's session for personalized support, we are always happy to help. A little bit about Anew. We collaborate with leadership, association and union support, and individual and member investment management. Here's our team. We have two individuals joining us today. We have Glenn and Nick, and two of our business development officers, Mike Bongiorno, he's director with the fire service, and Sean is director with law enforcement. Anew was founded in 2020. We have over 6 years of combined financial industry experience and over 60 years of first responder experience. We work with all different types of associations in the first responder world, including fire service and law enforcement. This is just a sampling of individuals that we've done training for or that we currently are advisors with. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nick.
Yep, thank you, Liz. And first slide here, really broad purposes looking at Anew. Major things we focus on, right? Retirement planning, investment management. Some of you know us for that. Some of you know us for the leadership and organizational things that we do, like secretary treasurer training, or like on the association level, doing a lot of like goal planning and decision-making conversations. So this is just a high-level overview of the three main areas that we focus on here at Anew. And then today, what we're going to focus on primarily, as if you want to go to the next slide, is this is more of a retirement planning conversation for most of you. So in the past, we had windfall elimination and the government pension offset. So we're going to talk about what those were, what's happened to them, and what it looks like for all of our first responder clients when it comes to how they're going to collect and earn Social Security payments. And so kind of like Liz mentioned, with the Social Security and windfall, we're going to try to keep this high level for you and keep it simple of what you need to know, why you need to know it, and then what we're suggesting that everyone goes and does about it. And so I'm going to apologize on the front end. A lot of our webinars are normally more picture-based. There's going to be a lot of words coming at you here in the beginning of this webinar. And so where we start is what the windfall elimination provision is essentially geared towards first responders and like railroad workers initially that had government pensions either at a state or federal level. A lot of those jobs, whether they paid into Social Security or not, the government didn't want you to be getting essentially excessive benefit payments when you had both Social Security and having a pension. And so what they applied it to is anyone with those to reduce the amount of pension benefit you were receiving. And so in the past, your Social Security benefit was never eliminated or brought all the way down to zero. But a lot of our first responder clients did have it reduced about 50%. And so if you think some of our, like a lot of our firefighters don't pay into Social Security, right? So they got very, very little. And on the police side, even our ones that did still have their benefit greatly reduced. And that's the same for the government pension offset. And so this was more on the spousal side. So what happens is when you apply for Social Security, you have the option to take a spousal benefit. So if you're married and your spouse, say, had a $2,500 benefit, without a pension, you would have been able to receive $1,250 a month in benefit. Well, just like the windfall provision, the government didn't like people taking advantage of that system. So if you received a pension, the government pension offset still reduced your spousal benefit or even your survivor benefit by a certain amount. So, no matter which way you tried to claim Social Security, if you had some sort of pension, you were going to see a reduction of pay. So what these were, this is just a overview of talking of like, hey, what were the reductions previously? Could the benefit be eliminated and who it applied to? But now, based on recent events, oh, sorry, I'm going to back up. This was actually a slide that Liz found for us, and this is a flow chart of trying to figure out whether or not you were going to receive Social Security as a benefit and under what provision that they were going to reduce your pay, essentially. And so this chart, very confusing, very convoluted. It became very hard from a planning perspective to figure out, all right, what am I going to get for Social Security? When am I going to get it? How am I going to take it? And so now we've eliminated all of that. So starting in 2025, it was voted on that through the Social Security and Fairness Act that they were going to completely repeal WEP and GPO, Windfall Elimination Provision, and the government pension offset. And what they also did is said that this is going to be retroactive to 2024. And so going forward now, you're going to see some big changes in how you're going to receive Social Security in terms of dollar amounts. And so we broke this up into two sections. We have our current retirees and our future retirees. So I'm going to start with current. So if you're already retired and were receiving Social Security, you got a retroactive check going back to January of 2024. So if you are already retired and you were taking a Social Security benefit, you should have received an additional payment from the Social Security office. What you're seeing here, average payment was about $6,700 in that one-time check, and some of the checks were exceeding $10,000 depending on how much Social Security was worked and how much that benefit was reduced. What you're also going to see if you are a current retiree is a drastic increase in what your benefit receiving is. So by now, you should have seen both of these things where you got your lump sum payment and you should be now receiving a higher monthly benefit. So if you don't have both of those things, you need to contact Social Security. And for many people, we saw increases of thousands of dollars a year. So like our chart says here, on average, anywhere between $500 and $1,200 a month increase in Social Security benefits. So if you haven't seen those yet, make sure you're reaching out. For our future retirees, now you're not going to see any more reductions. So when you go out and you go and start to ssa.org or .gov to get your Social Security statement, those should all be up to date. So if you have one previously, it's important you go and check. And so what you're going to see now, if everyone knows, to be eligible for Social Security, you need to have paid in 40 quarters or 10 years of Social Security needs to be paid in. That's to be eligible. What a lot of people don't understand is that you still need essentially 30 years of Social Security paying in to get the most out of your benefit. Because when Social Security calculates your benefit, they take your highest earning 30 years. So if you only have 15 years earning Social Security, you have another 15 of zeros, right? And on averages, right, we have a lot of zeros in there that really brings that average pay down and it brings down the amount of Social Security that you're going to get. So making sure you go in and check your benefits, making sure if you're paying into Social Security, it's registering on the website is important. Same thing for spousal, right? So now let's say like more on the firefighter side, you might not have paid into Social Security for a lot of years, but now if your spouse had a high benefit, you are going to be able to get your full spousal benefit whenever you decide to take it. And so that spousal benefit is calculated based on their full retirement age benefit, and then it might be reduced based on when, if you take it early at say 62. And so making sure your spouse also has their benefit and checking theirs is also going to be important because it can affect yours. And when you file with Social Security, let them know all that. And then from there, they're going to give you the highest benefit possible. And so on the bottom of this here, I wanted to take the opportunity to bring this up. If you were married for 10 years and you then get divorced, it's important to track that when it comes time to take Social Security, because if you were married for 10 years, get divorced, you are still entitled to a spousal benefit on your ex-spouse if you do not get remarried. So, if you are going into retirement, you're single, but you were married for 10 years, when you start applying for Social Security, let them know because you might be entitled to a higher spousal benefit. So, always things to consider when taking Social Security. So, how do you do it? These are screenshots from the Social Security website for you to go in and create your account if you haven't done so yet. I recommend everyone does this for a couple reasons. It allows you to check to make sure your earnings are being recorded properly on the Social Security website, and then it's going to allow you to see a statement. So easy to log in. I know a lot of you have the ID Me already. That's the easiest way to log in, or you can create a new login based on your Social Security number. From there, they're going to give you your one-time code so you can sign in, two-factor authentication, like what everything else in world has right now. So you're going to do your two-factor authentication. Going to ask you to agree to some terms, and then this bottom right screen is one of the important ones. What we ask for when we start doing these planning conversations is that Social Security statement. And what's really nice about that statement, it gives you what your full retirement age is, changes based on when you retire, and then it gives you your levels based on 62 through 70 on what your payment options are, right? So if your full retirement age is at 67, the important thing to remember is every year after that, you're going to get your 8% simple interest on that growth, right? And so our conversation with people when a lot of our first responders is, when do we take it, right? Do I take it at 63? Do I take it at full retirement? Do we wait till 70? And that's a more individualized conversation. So we can help you kind of go through that, but the best way for us to do that is if we get your Social Security statement. And then this is just the last page showing what we need in order to run that. Any questions? We were able to keep this one a little bit brief because ultimately all the information on windfall and government pension offset has gone away, right? So a lot of these complicated calculation methods for Social Security, they got rid of those a long time ago. Windfall elimination's done. So this is now just a good reminder that your Social Security benefits should be updated on Social Security's website. You should have got your payout if you were retired and already seeing Social Security. And now make sure you're checking every year. So like when you get your pension statement, that's normally a really good time to go out and check Social Security and make sure Social Security amounts and statements are being updated as well.
Hey, Nick, can I share something with this?
Yeah.
What we see evolving in conversations, whether our clients are doing their annual review or we're going through a retirement roadmap for one of our prospective clients, is the question that's coming up now is the spouse is raising their hands and saying, well, if my first responder spouse now can collect Social Security, does that mean that I can retire sooner? And we've literally done dozens of these, and I would say in the last several months, where it's now allowing a different conversation for when you can retire, how you can retire, and what you do in retirement, because some of it is a significant dollar amount on a monthly basis. Picture whether it's covering a significant part of a mortgage or a car payment, or allowing you to take a trip per year. So I think what it's done is really propelled planning and discussions to bring both spouses to the table or your significant other to make sure you're on the same page and changing the trajectory of retirement date. So I just want to share that with the participants and encourage them to update their retirement roadmap.
Yeah, and on that too, we know a lot of you work part-time jobs, right? A lot of you work outside shifts. There could now be a benefit to maybe having some of your pay, like if you run your own business, being W-2 or 1099, where you might take out Social Security taxes just a little bit to knock out some of those zeros, because it's going to replicate and supplement your pension if you're able to do it. And so that's another like broader like planning conversation on how you take some of your income for your side jobs too.
All good points.
So there is a Q&A section, or you can raise your hand to ask a question if there's anything that you had, or anything you think that we might have missed that you would like to have answered. We'll let that open for a minute.
Doesn't look like there's any questions at this point.
Nope, I haven't seen anything come in here yet. No hands raised, no Q&A, so. Yeah, any questions, Liz threw our contact information up there. We'll get a recording of this call out to you in case you have anything you want to revisit or you need our contact information. Feel free to reach out to me or Glenn or Mike or Sean, any member of the team, and we'll get your questions answered for you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, thanks everybody.